In this lesson, we will learn about the passive voice. The most common type of sentence in English is an active sentence. Here is an example. They make Fiat cars in Italy. This is a typical English sentence in the active form. It starts with the subject they, and then the verb make, and then we have an object of the sentence, which is Fiat cars, and then we have a time expression in Italy. They make Fiat cars in Italy. So a typical English sentence starts with a subject, has a verb, and an object. But we can give the same information in a different way by using the passive voice. So the same sentence can be expressed as follows. Fiat cars are made in Italy. This construction is called the passive voice. And this is what we're going to study today. Now, have a look at all these sentences. They are in the passive voice, except one. Can you find it out? I'll read the sentences for you. 2 apples were eaten. The window pane was broken. The flat tire was changed by Sue. The house will be cleaned. Tom painted the entire house. The students' questions are always answered by the teacher. The treaty is being signed by the 2 kings. Money was generously donated to the homeless shelter by Larry. Which do you think is the sentence that is in the passive voice? Tom painted the entire house. Which do you think is not a sentence in the passive voice? Good. Tom painted the entire house. Because in this sentence, we know who did the action. Tom painted the entire house. Tom is the subject of the verb, and Tom is the doer of this action. In all the other sentences, the subject is the receiver or the recipient of the action. 2 apples were eaten. The window pane was broken. So the window received the action expressed in this verb. So this sentence, Tom painted the entire house, is not a passive sentence. We form the passive sentence with the verb to be followed by the past participle. Here is an example of the past voice used in a sentence. This football match is being watched all over the world. Is being is the verb to be in the present continuous tense, followed by the past participle of the verb watch. Is being watched is a verb in the passive voice. In questions, for example, when was the meeting changed? We have the verb to be in the simple past, was, and then the past participle of the verb change, changed. So, was changed is a verb in the passive voice used in question. In a negative sentence, I haven't been told what to do. The verb to be is used in the present perfect tense and also in the negative form, haven't been, followed by the past participle of the verb tell, which is told. Haven't been told is a verb which is in the passive voice. When the verb in the active sentence is in the present tense, in the present simple tense, like in this sentence, they send emails every day, and we want to change this into the passive voice. So what we should do first is we should start the sentence with the object. So the object of the active sentence should become the subject of the passive sentence. But what is the object in this sentence? They send emails every day. What do they send? They send emails. The answer to this question is the object. So the word emails is the object of the active sentence. Now let's write it down as the subject of my passive sentence. And then what is the sentence? What is the verb in this sentence? The verb is send. In which tense is this? It is in the simple present. Because it is in the simple present, I need to use the helping verb or the auxiliary be in the simple present tense. And this verb should agree with the subject, which means that if the subject is plural, I need to use the verb to be in the present tense and in the plural form. Okay? So the verb to be in the present with different pronouns. So with the third person pronouns, he, she, it, we use is. With the first person pronoun I, we use am. And with we, you, and they, we use are. Emails is a subject which is in the plural form. That's why we have the S marker here. So emails can be replaced by the pronoun they. That's why we use are. Emails are. So this is the first part of the verb in the passive voice. The second part should be the past participle of the verb send. What's the past participle of the verb send? Sent is the answer. Emails are sent. And then complete the sentence with the adverbs of time or adverbs of place, okay? Or with any other complement. So emails are sent every day. Okay. Now when the verb in the active sentence is in the past simple tense, for example, they sent an email yesterday. The verb sent is in the past simple tense. So first of all, we need to find the object of the sentence, and the object of the sentence is an email. What did they send yesterday? So yesterday they sent an email. So we write the word the email, and then we try to find the verb. The verb is sent. Which tense is this? This is the simple past tense. And in the simple past tense, the verb to be with the following pronouns, he, she, it, and I, becomes was, and with we, you, and they, it becomes were. So the question to be asked here is this subject singular or plural? The email. Notice that the email is singular. And if I want to use a pronoun to refer to this or to replace this noun, I use the pronoun it. So the verb to be in the past with the subject or pronoun it is was. The email was. And then the past participle of the verb send, which happens to be the same as the simple past tense. Okay, so the email was sent yesterday. Now, when the verb in the active sentence is in the future tense, for example, they will send an email tomorrow, we need the object of the active sentence to become the subject of or the recipient of the action in the passive sentence, the email, and then will send. We need to use, notice that it is in the future tense, and when changed into the passive voice, with all pronouns, we use will followed by be. The email will be, and then the past participle of the verb send will be sent tomorrow. We can use a by phrase to say who does the action. For example, the amphitheater was built by the Romans. If I want to mention the subject or the doer, then I use the by phrase. Here is another example. The football match will be watched by 20 million people. Often, we do not include by phrases if we think that the person who does the action is not important. Like in the following sentences. The bottle was found on the beach. Or, the time of my appointment has been changed. We use passive sentences to emphasize the information we think is important. In this passive sentence, the pyramids are more important than the Egyptians. The pyramids were built by the Egyptians. The focus here is on the pyramids and not by the builders of the pyramids. In this active sentence, the Romans are more important than the amphitheater. The Romans built the amphitheater, so the focus is on the Romans. That's why we used it in the beginning of the sentence. Passive sentences are more common in writing than in speech, and they are more formal than active sentences.